What's going on, everybody? This is it. This is the final video for the 2015 edition of the Tracking the Madness series. It is time for this thing to get started. I know I said originally I was going to wait until Monday nights to fill out the gut feeling bracket version, but I can't wait. I mean, I'm too jacked up at this point. So I watched the selection show a couple hours ago, and I tell you what, to me there were at least a couple of big surprises. So first, just want to share my thoughts on that before I fill this out. I've already filled out a couple already that are kind of more based on, numbers and different, fun things and stuff like that. No shocker, I've got Kentucky winning, I think, in at least 3 out of these 6 that I've already filled out. So I want to try and be a little bit different. I know a lot of people are going to have Kentucky winning the whole thing. We'll see what happens with that. But and they are a good team, don't get me wrong. But this is always the fun of it. It's definitely going to be exciting. Couple things though to talk about. I think the biggest takeaway, at least for me, is the shock, the fact that UCLA was in the field. I personally, I had UCLA on the first 4 out. I think a lot of people did not have UCLA in the field, but they apparently were included in the fact they were playing better down the stretch. I was surprised that Dayton got put into the first 4 in Dayton, practically a home game. I didn't think they were that low on the seed line. But apparently the committee saw it that way. Maybe if they had beaten VCU in the A-10 final, they would have maybe gotten out of that position. They probably would have. And they would have had to readjust that a bit. But after that happened, it ended up putting Dayton in the first 4. So that surprised me. It surprised me from the get-go in the Midwest region, when all the Indiana teams, Purdue included, was put in the Midwest, in Kentucky's region. That kind of sucks, but none of them, I think, really got easy draws except maybe Notre Dame. But they're all there. Purdue, Valpo, Butler, Notre Dame, Indiana, they're all in the same bracket, which I can't recall ever that happening where all the teams from one state ended up in the same region. So that was definitely surprising. And then another thing, and then I was off on a couple. I thought that Colorado State and Temple had honestly done enough to get in the field. I thought that they were actually quite safe, and apparently the committee did not see them that way. Apparently for some, I think both were really hurt by the fact that they had very high strength of schedules, and they really lacked a lot of quality wins, unlike other teams from power conferences. I think maybe that's why those 2 teams were left out of the field in the end. But I thought Colorado State, the fact that they'd beaten a couple strong teams in the Mountain West, fellow teams and tournament teams in Boise State and San Diego State, but they didn't beat anybody outside their conference. Maybe, again, that was the reason why the Rams were left out of the field at 27-6. And then with Temple, I thought Temple, with the big win over Kansas, looked really good on the resume. But again, 2-8 against the top 50, 8-8 against the top 100. So again, not really a whole lot there. I guess maybe that's why the committee saw in their eyes that they really didn't reward Temple. But it was interesting to know the committee chair did mention that Temple was only left out of the field because then after Wyoming had won the automatic bid and stole a bid in the Mountain West, they stole Temple's bid. So, and that's what happened there. And it was interesting. He also said had UConn won the American today and had they beaten SMU, then Dayton would have been out, which would have, I think, shocked everybody. So definitely a couple obviously shocks and surprises there. But other than that, I wasn't too surprised with a lot of the seeding. Not really a whole lot of shocks. So as I fill this out, I'll kind of talk about a couple of different teams as I fill this out. But just to really touch upon some of the other brackets, I've got like Kentucky over Gonzaga. I've got Kentucky over Virginia in a couple. I've got like in one I've got Villanova over Kansas, just to be a little bit different. In my kind of more my fun one, I got like Iowa State over North Carolina. That's the one I base off of mascots. And then I got Arizona over Gonzaga in another one. So I got a couple that are different. I know a lot. Again, I said I think like according to the ESPN's BPI index, like Kentucky has like a 49% chance to win the whole thing, which is pretty strong. So I know a lot of brackets out there are going to have Kentucky to win it all, and understandably so. I mean, they are 34-0. They are a strong team. They've shown it all year. They found a way to win games when it's close. But I think, and I was afraid of this. Do you remember last year when the committee gave Wichita State, the only undefeated team in the field, the hardest road to the Final Four? I think the committee again did Kentucky no favor here as the only undefeated team, and I figured this would happen. I mean, because this is the loaded region. The Midwest is loaded. I'd say the East is probably the easiest. Really, Villanova doesn't have really much challengers here in this region. I'd say the South is wide open, and I would say the West probably is also pretty easy. I can't really see any big challenges for Wisconsin either, except maybe Arizona in the Elite Eight. So, but when you look at the Midwest, my gosh, I mean, this is just, of course, with Kansas as the 2, Notre Dame a very strong number 3. You got Maryland a decent 4. You got a couple of strong double-digit seeds. You even got Wichita State, which surprised me as a 7 seed. They were a little bit surprisingly low, but you've got them in that mix. You've got, Indiana as a 10, barely in the field. Texas as an 11, I think could be dangerous. Butler is the 6. Even some are saying Buffalo is the 12. So this region, I think, is going to be the toughest one for me to pick. I really think. When it comes to these gut feeling picks, so that's the way I see it going forward. So because the Midwest I think is going to be the hardest to pick, then probably I'm going to kind of go backwards to start off, and I know that kind of is confusing, but I am going to start probably work like counterclockwise. So I'm probably going to go east, then south, then west, and then the Midwest. I want to save the toughest one for last because it's going to be the hardest. So, all right. First off, the opening round games, the first 4. I know you really can't pick these games, but I do just to get a variance on them anyway. The 16s, Manhattan and Hampton. I'm probably going to go with the Jaspers there. Again, Hampton, losing record, 16 and 17, surprising winner out of the MEAC. Wasn't expected. Manhattan beat Iona in the final. That was a big win for them. I'm going to take the Jaspers there. So then they would get Kentucky. Then the South opening round game, North Florida and Robert Morris. I'm going to take the Ospreys. Again, they beat Purdue earlier in the year. Robert Morris, usually when they get into tourney, is a scary team. Remember, they beat Kentucky in the NIT a couple years ago. It was last year or a couple years ago. But I think, I think North Florida has been strong all year. So I will take the Ospreys. East region opening round game, Boise State and Dayton. Obviously, it's going to be a home game for the Flyers because they're playing in their own backyard. And I think that's going to be huge to their advantage. I think, don't get me wrong, Boise, again, has been a fun team to watch this year. I've enjoyed watching them play. But again, I think the fact that they're playing at home, I think that just favors Dayton a little bit. So I'm going to take the Flyers here. And then BYU and Ole Miss. I didn't have Ole Miss in the field. I didn't think that they had done enough to warrant inclusion in the tourney. I think BYU is going to put them to shame with Tyler Hawes and Kyle Collinsworth. Ole Miss, to me, did not look like a tournament team over these past couple weeks, losing to Vanderbilt, losing to South Carolina. They didn't win a game in the SEC tournament, and now somehow they're in the field. So I was kind of shocked at their inclusion. So I think BYU is going to go to town on them. I will take the Cougars to win that game. All right, so now we'll start here in the East. Villanova and Lafayette. Obviously, I'm going to take Villanova again. Just remember your bracket tournament history. No 16 has ever beat a 1 in the second round. Some have come close, but it's never happened. So I don't think it's going to be the year this year either. Maybe the closest will probably again be Coastal Carolina. They came pretty close to knocking off Virginia last year, but they might give Wisconsin a battle for a half or two, but I don't think it's going to happen this year either. So I have Villanova beating Lafayette. NC State and LSU. This is a really intriguing 8-9 matchup. Both teams, have had beat really good teams this season. LSU late kind of really fell off. That loss to Auburn was tough. I think that probably dropped them down a seed line or two. NC State is to me though very inconsistent, very hit or miss. So for me, I'm going to go with the Tigers. To me, it's very close, but I like what I've seen from LSU this year. They've played a couple strong SEC teams tough, and I think NC State to me is just too inconsistent for my liking. So I will take LSU there. Northern Iowa and Wyoming. As great as the Wyoming story is, winning the Mountain West Conference Tournament, the fact that Larry Nance has come back and been strong, I like Northern Iowa. I've said on here how much I love the Panthers, watching them play. I love Seth Tuttle. I think the job that they've done is amazing. I will take UNI to win that game. Louisville and UC Irvine. This one is so hard for me because I like both schools. I do have a liking toward both. Obviously, Louisville being close to Louisville. I like the Cards. I think they're a fun team to watch. And UC Irvine, first time in the tournament ever. I was rooting hard for the Anteaters for to get the Big West bid. And I love the nickname. I like it. I think it's really neat. But as much as I would love to pick the upset there, I think Rick Pitino, too strong. I think he'll at least get that far. I know they've overcome a lot of things with the Chris Jones situation and all that. Irvine can shoot well if they get going, but they struggled in that game against Hawaii. And I think Louisville, the offense is just going to be too strong. And again, with Montrezl Harrell, I don't know if anyone on Irvine has anybody that can slow him down. Now, what's interesting is going to be that battle though between Harrell and 7'6" Mamadou Ndiaye. That's going to be a fun battle to watch as well. So maybe, that probably will be the matchup that decides the game, but I still think in the end, Louisville's going to be able to have too much pieces overall. Really, Irvine's offense moves through Ndiaye. If he doesn't get going, if he gets in foul trouble, then Irvine tends to shut down a bit. So I'll go with Louisville there. Providence and Dayton. This then would be a very entertaining game. Providence has a lot of good wins this year. They've beaten some really good teams. They have a great backcourt there at Providence. But again, Dayton to me, again they made the Elite Eight run last year. They're very well coached. This one is really tough. And the fact that if Dayton wins that game, then they're still in their backyard because then they got to go to Columbus. They're still going to be playing close to home. So I think I got to take that slightly into account, and I'll take Dayton. I think they're going to benefit from playing close to home. That's just usually teams do benefit from playing close to home. I mean, same thing with the Conference USA tournament with UAB. They played in Birmingham. They won. UConn in the American made the final, didn't win it, but playing near your home usually is very beneficial. So I think that this would be huge for Dayton, so I'm going to take them in a surprise there to beat Providence. Oklahoma and Albany, great story for the Great Danes, that tournament appearance. They'll probably play them tough, but Buddy Hield in Oklahoma, to me, too much, too strong. I will take Oklahoma. Michigan State and Georgia, to me, this is a 7-10 on paper, but to me it's really not. I think, again, Tom Izzo in March, usually don't bet against the guys. Sparty plays their best basketball this time of year. I will take Michigan State. And then Virginia and Belmont, this could potentially be dangerous. For Virginia, really, it all depends on the health of their players, because Justin Anderson now is coming back from the finger injury and the appendectomy, and, that whole thing is up in the air, and it looks like he may be getting better going forward. But it just depends on his health and the health of the other players there. The thing about Belmont has tournament experience. They've been here 6 times before. They've never won an NCAA tournament game, though. So they might be a popular, trendy upset pick, but they've never come through and won a tournament game. And Virginia is all about defense. And what's Belmont all about? Belmont is all about shooting. their players get hot from the outside. Well, Virginia, Virginia games usually really ugly. They're low-scoring games, very much low. So I think in the end, I think Virginia's going to find a way to clamp down on Belmont shooters, and I will take UVA there. What the heck was that? You're going to know it. I have no idea what that just was on my TV.
As much as most people thought you would, when he was first recruited.
Sorry about that.
Bracketology is presented by.
Oh. So now, third round of the East. I'm just going to go region by region. Not going to go round by round. I'm going to go region by region. Villanova, LSU, again, I think, again, Villanova just too strong. They were very impressive throughout the Big East tournament. LSU might give them a really good game there, but again, I think Villanova is, one of the strongest teams in this region. I'm going to go with Villanova. Northern Iowa's my sleeper. I'm just going to say it right now. Northern Iowa is my sleeper here. I will have them beating Louisville to advance to the Sweet 16. I just think the Panthers so strong offensively, and their defense is also very tough, and I think they can maybe find a way to lock down Hazel. So at this point, I think really that's all the offense Louisville has going for them. So I will take Northern Iowa to pull the upset there in Seattle. Dayton and Oklahoma, again here, as much as, again, I want to pick Dayton here in the upset, I think, again, Buddy Hield and the Sooners just too strong here. Dayton will go a little bit far, but I don't think they make a big run like they did last year this time. Not the same team, at least not from what I've seen from them. So I think I have Oklahoma there. And here I think I'm going to pull, again, another bit of a little surprise. I'm going to take Michigan State to knock off Virginia. Michigan State has plenty of offensive talent that can find a way to crack that Virginia defensive thing. And Tom Izzo, again, is one of the most prepared, experienced coaches when it comes to March, when it comes to tournament time. Again, would you want to pick against that? I certainly wouldn't. And I know, and today they played Wisconsin very strong in the Big Ten tournament final today. Even though they didn't score any points in overtime, they lost by 11. They gave Wisconsin all they could handle. So I think Michigan State is a very, very scary 7th seed. Same with Wichita State in the Midwest, which when I pick that side, I'll get to in a minute. But a scary 7th seed. So I like Sparty there to knock off Virginia. So then Villanova, Northern Iowa. Again, as much as I would love to pick Villanova there, I think the other two #1 seeds, like Kentucky and Wisconsin, are stronger as a whole than Villanova and Duke. I really think so. I think it's, this side, even though it tends to be an easier road, there's a lot of potential sleepers on this side as well that could potentially make some noise. So, again, I really like Northern Iowa, and I'm going to pick them here to beat Villanova and get to the Elite Eight. And then Oklahoma, Michigan State, here, as much as I would love Sparty, the Big 12 has been so strong this year. Oklahoma has really been battle-tested this year with the playmakers they have. I think Sparty would give them a really good game, but in the end, I'm going to take Oklahoma there. So, in my East final, I have Northern Iowa taking on Oklahoma. This is really tough. This one's really tough. Because both these teams, both can score the basketball, but both can really defend well too when they get out there in space. Oh man. You know what? I just feel like this Northern Iowa team is like a team of destiny. I just feel like they're going to be one of those, surprising teams. I just think they're going to go on this kind of like VCU kind of like run. I just think they're going to be so strong. Sometimes, like I said, with my gut, you just gotta go with your gut. I just have a strong feeling. It might be an oddball pick. It might be out there. No one else is probably, there might be only like a few brackets out there that have Northern Iowa at the Final Four, but I just feel like they're gonna make a very strong run. I just feel like that this bracket for them, if they can get past Villanova, is for the taking. I think it's certainly there. So. And I know Archie Diacono is a great player in Villanova, and they've got talent, they've got great players, but I like Northern Iowa. I think they're going to get there, at least to the Final Four. All right, South Region. Much as it pains me, I got to at least have Duke beating North Florida. I don't think they're going to go out that early. Here's the thing with me and Duke, and I know this might be biased because I'm not a Duke fan and I'm not very fond of them. I usually never put Duke far in the bracket because A, I don't like them, and B, I usually they conk out to a surprising team anyway. It's kind of like Kansas. That's in the same boat. They conk out to a unexpected team they're not supposed to lose to, and they go out fairly early. So, but I think they at least get by Northern Florida. I'm gonna have them taking on San Diego State, especially with the new information that we got today that St. John's' starting center is going to be suspended for the first 2 weeks for a violation of team rules. So, San Diego State, the job that Steve Fisher does on the defensive end. I think he'll, again, even though he's going up against another great coach in Steve Lavin, I think he finds a way to shut down St. John's players. Here is, to me, probably the popular right now 12-5 upset. Utah against Stephen F. Austin. Don't get me wrong, I've watched Utah a couple times this season. Very talented basketball team. But Stephen F. Austin was a 12 seed last year. They pulled the upset of VCU. They can score just as well as Utah. I think they'll be able to keep up with Utah. And I like Stephen F. Austin here. I think, to me, I just think the Lumberjacks are going to find a way to score again. I think they'll keep up with them. I like Stephen F. Austin again to at least win one game in the tourney. And then Georgetown, Eastern Washington. Scary thing about Georgetown with their past tournament history, they have a tendency to go out of tournament games fairly early, and and they lose to teams they're not supposed to lose to. And Eastern Washington, do you remember this year, went into Bloomington, beat Indiana. I don't know why, but I'm gonna go Eastern Washington. I'm going based on history here. I just think. This is a team that can score offensively, very strong in like the KenPom ratings. They can get up and down the floor and score. And if you can't shut it down, then I think in one of the Big Sky tournament games, they put up like 90 something, like 91. I mean, this team can score. So I have them beating Georgetown there. Again, I have SMU beating UCLA. Larry Brown, the job he's done there at SMU, has got great talent there. Winning the American. Again, I don't think UCLA should even be in this field, so that's really why I don't have them in. So that's why I have SMU forward. Iowa State, I have them beating UAB. UAB, of course, had a great run to the Conference USA tournament, and they have improved. They've gotten better. But I think really that was more of a byproduct of the fact they were playing at home in Birmingham. When it gets to the tournament, I think Iowa State's going to completely overwhelm them. I like the Cyclones there. Iowa and Davidson. This one is really tough. Because here's the thing. Iowa, yes, is a matchup nightmare. And they've got some really, really good players. Davidson, though, is a scary matchup because they've got players really that can, shoot and score too. Davidson is very efficient on the offensive end. So is Iowa. Iowa's got shot blockers. So it's this one. This 7-10 is probably, of all the 7-10 matchups, I'd say this is the toughest to pick. Then probably VCU, Ohio State, then Wichita State, Indiana, and then Michigan State, Georgia. That's how I'd rate the 7-10s. But gosh, this one is really tough. Davidson always seems to surprise when they're a lower digit seed. I've noticed. Davidson always likes to surprise when they're a lower digit seed. But the fact to me that Iowa's just a strong matchup nightmare, I will take the Hawks. And then Gonzaga, I think they'll beat North Dakota State. All right, Duke and San Diego State. Again, as you know, as much as Steve Fisher praises defense and shutting down teams, Jalil Okafor, the players they have there at Duke, it's just, to me, a little way too tough. So I at least have them getting to the Sweet 16. Stephen F. Austin, Eastern Washington. Here I'm going to actually go with Eastern Washington in this 12-13. Again, I think they're that's going to be an up and down, high scoring game if those two meet in the third round. But I'm going to go with the team that can really put up a lot of points more often on a more frequent basis, and I think that's Eastern Washington. SMU, Iowa State. There, I'm going to go with the Cyclones. Iowa State this season has come back from deficits multiple times. They're like the comeback kids. They're a fun basketball team to watch. George Niang and Coach Fred Hoiberg have done an outstanding job there. So I'm going to go with Iowa State. And then Iowa-Gonzaga. As much as that would be a tough matchup for Gonzaga, just the job that Wilcher has done there and Mark Few, I'm going to go with Gonzaga. As much as I would love to see Eastern Washington end Duke's run, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Duke, again, as much as this pains me, this is probably the farthest I've ever put them in a bracket because they have such an easy road. There's really no one here to challenge Duke in this bracket. This is very weak. So there's really no one here that can pick a automatic upset and say, oh, I think they're going to beat Duke. Well, no, not that I've seen so far. So until you get to the Elite Eight, and then I've got Iowa State and Gonzaga, and here I'm going to go with Iowa State. I just think, again, battle-tested, tough conference. Yes, Gonzaga is a great team, and they've got great players, and Mark Fusilier does an outstanding job. And a lot of people saying, I think this is the year they're going to go to the Final Four. Well, the committee here did him no favors with this tough draw. So I like what Iowa State's done. And here, because, again, I don't like putting Duke in the Final Four, I will take Iowa State. All right, West Region. Let's see here. I'm getting uncomfortable. Wisconsin. Obviously, I have them beating Coastal Carolina. Again, I think of all the 16s, Coastal Carolina is probably going to give the toughest challenge. But again, Frank Kaminsky, the matchup problems that he presents, the shooters they have there, Decker, the guys that they have there at Wisconsin, Bo Ryan, too much in the end. Plus, they're playing in Omaha, which is close. Wisconsin fans travel anyway, so I will take Wisconsin there. Oregon and Oklahoma State. This should be a very entertaining 8-9. But here, this is very tough, but I'm going to go Oregon. To me, the Ducks I'm a firm believer in momentum, and down the stretch, they, to me, have looked more like a tournament team than Oklahoma State has. The Cowboys really hit the skids over the last couple weeks, so I will take Oregon there. Arkansas and Wofford. This one's intriguing, too. But as much as I said earlier that, I ranted about, maybe Wofford could be a surprise team, I don't like this matchup for Wofford. Certainly Wofford is a team that, playing in the Southern, get up and down the floor, and they can score points if they get going. But to me, Arkansas, too much talent, too strong players, overall. Wofford will probably give them a game. It'll probably be a close game, but I can see Arkansas barely winning that in the end. North Carolina, Harvard. I think Marcus Page and Carolina is going to cruise in that one. Don't get me wrong, Harvard representing the Ivy League, strong, but Carolina's got too many points. So I'm going to go with Carolina. Xavier, BYU. I mentioned on here, and I tweeted this out too, that I feel real bad for the team that drew Xavier in the tournament because Xavier has really impressed me. Xavier, I thought Xavier would be a much lower seed. They gave Xavier a 6. I was quite impressed with the committee giving Xavier a 6 seed in the end, based on what they did down the stretch and the fact they got to the Big East final. I think they rewarded them for that fact. But this is a scary matchup too, because BYU with those players, with Tyler Hawes, with Collinsworth, with that, I just feel like BYU is going to win at least 2 games in this tournament. And even though Xavier's a tough team, that's a bad matchup for them. I'm going to go BYU there. Baylor, Georgia State, I'll go with Baylor. Oh, and by the way, for Georgia State, get well soon to Coach Ron Hunter. If you guys didn't see it today during the final, after Georgia State won the game over Georgia Southern in the Sun Belt final, tore his Achilles in the celebration. Ouch. Get better soon, Coach, and prepare hard for Baylor. You might not win the game, but prepare hard for them. But I think Baylor is going to win. I think Baylor's team gets up and down the floor. Georgia State only scored 38 against Georgia Southern. They're a defensive-minded team. Baylor's probably going to blow the doors off of them. VCU and Ohio State. This, to me, is a tough one as well. What is VCU all about? They're about that havoc defense. They can turn turnovers into points. Ohio State really revolves around D'Angelo Russell, their playmaker. If VCU can just eliminate D'Angelo Russell from the game, I think VCU's got this game won. I mean, I was not impressed with Ohio State's resume. People thought it was crazy that I had Ohio State as a 10 seed, as a literally low seed. Why do you have them so low? They're a lock in the tournament. Well, yes, I thought they were going to get in the field, but nothing about the resume impressed me. Ohio State has one top 50 win. That's why they're so low in the field. So this is not a great matchup for them, considering VCU just won the A10 tournament without Briante Weber. They're starting to gel together. They're starting to get better and play better. And Briante Weber, by the way, I got to reward this kid, because as VCU, those final seconds tick off and they win the A10 title, he is hopping out on the floor on one leg in tears celebrating. That was cool. Much love and props to Briante Weber. So not only for that, and for the fact that I don't like Ohio State's resume, I'm taking VCU. And then Arizona, Texas Southern. As much as I love the job that Mike Davis has done there with Texas Southern and getting the Tigers to the tournament, Arizona just way too strong. I thought Arizona was going to be a 1 seed, honestly, but it didn't happen in the end. I will take Arizona. Wisconsin and Oregon, that's a rematch from a couple years ago. I still think Wisconsin's too strong. Oregon's got good shooters, got good playmakers, but again, Frank Kaminsky, the match nightmare he is, I think Wisconsin's a very strong one. I will go Wisconsin. Arkansas, North Carolina. Here I'm going to go to the Tar Heels, playing well at the right time. Here I think they'll be able to overwhelm that Arkansas team, kind of like Kentucky did today with their shooters and their offense. BYU and Baylor, offensive slugfest here. I mean, this is really intriguing. But to me, again, this 11-seeded Baylor team kind of has like that Team of Destiny feel to it a little bit, kind of like what Dayton did last year as an 11. I'm going to go BYU. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a very close game, but I like BYU there. And then VCU playing Arizona. If it were not played in Portland, I'd probably, the fact that Arizona's going to be so close to home and they're, close to their backyard. VCU will certainly give them a game, but here I think the luck runs out. I will take Arizona. Wisconsin and North Carolina. Here I'll take Wisconsin. I would love to pick Carolina there, but and that could probably go either way. But again, to me, Wisconsin's playing its best basketball this season right now. The momentum on their side. Again, gritty team, talent out the wazoo. I just think Wisconsin is so strong. And then BYU, Arizona. Here I think the run ends. And I'll take Arizona. Wisconsin just feels to me like a team that is destined to go to the Final Four and meet Kentucky again in the semifinal. That to me is what this team feels like. They are going to be really really, really determined to get to Indianapolis. I really feel that way. I think they are, obviously outside of Kentucky, the most dangerous #1 seed. That's going to be a battle with Arizona, I think. But in the end, I will put Wisconsin in the Final Four. All right, toughest region. Toughest region right here. Midwest. Obviously, Kentucky's going to beat Manhattan. That's no doubt. Or whoever they play, whether it's Manhattan or whether it's Hampton. They're not losing to Manhattan or Hampton. That's just not happening. If it happens, then we'll look back in this video years from now and say, boy, that guy was wrong. But no, I don't see them losing either Manhattan or Hampton. Cincinnati and my Boilermakers. Cincinnati has overcome so much. They've been through a tough year. Playing for their coach, was away for a while. They're really, getting in this field. But Purdue has just played so well of late. With those two big guys, with Hammonds playing as well as he has, I think Purdue at least can win this game. I think they match up well with Cincinnati. I have Purdue winning this game at least. But then here's another one that I think here I'm going to pick an upset. And not just because it's popular, but I think because of the fact, again, I like how far this team has come this year. I'm going to take Buffalo to knock off West Virginia. Buffalo, to me, is a very solid basketball team on both sides of the floor. And they're coached by Bobby Hurley, who, yes, was a Duke. But the job he's done this year has been outstanding. This team, has come on strong of late, beat Central Michigan, the top team in the MAC final. They can get up and down the floor. They can keep players in check. And to me, West Virginia, while as good as they are, to me they seem high for a 5. I don't know. It's just, to me, I think they're right for an upset. So, and they're playing in Columbus. Again, it's going to be more favored, I think, toward Buffalo than West Virginia. So I'll take Buffalo with the surprise. And as much as I would love to take Valpo over Maryland, I don't see it. Melo Trimble, again, the job that he has done leading that team. Don't get me wrong, the job that Bryce Drew's done at Valparaiso is outstanding. It's a great job, but this is not a great matchup for him, I don't think. I think Maryland's players, too much, too strong. I will take Maryland there to win that game. Butler and Texas, this 6-11 is really, really intriguing. When I saw Butler as a 6, I wasn't surprised. I knew Butler was going to be a 6 seed. As I said, that's about right. When I see them drew Texas, I'm like, oh boy. Because even though Texas is, their resume wasn't exactly great. They only had 3 top 50 wins this season. They had no bad losses. They lost. Texas has played really good teams. They are battle-tested. They've played really good teams. And even though Butler has some good wins themselves too, this is going to be a very, very tough matchup for the Bulldogs. This just seems right for an upset. This just seems right for the 11 to beat the 6. To me, this year the 6 seeds seem, really, really weak. Outside of SMU, I think SMU is the strongest 6 seed here. Then maybe Providence, then Xavier, and I hate to say it, but Butler I think is the weakest 6. I just think this is not the same Butler of the years past. It's just, I'm going to take Texas. I think this is a really bad matchup for Butler. I really do. Notre Dame's going to roll Northeastern. I watched Northeastern the Colonial Final. Ugly. Very ugly game. Low scoring. Not really a lot of playmaker talent. With Jaron Grant, Notre Dame is going to lead that team, so I'll take Notre Dame. I'm going to take Wichita State to beat Indiana. Wichita State, again, could be a very dangerous 7 seed here. Again, the way they play, that pressure, defense they play there, that playing angry, that style there at Wichita State, they're experienced. They're in the same region as Kentucky, so they're going to want to get another shot at Kentucky again. And the fact that Indiana, struggled down the stretch, didn't play well of late, I think that's going to wear on them a bit. And the style that Wichita State plays is going to really wear on Indiana, I think. So they're just not used, I think, to playing against, a pressure defense team like Wichita State. They're playing in Omaha. That's right in Wichita State's backyard. So, and then I have them playing Kansas. who will beat New Mexico State. Kentucky and Purdue, even though Purdue, has the big guys that can, maybe match up well, I think Kentucky in the end has too many playmakers, so I think there the run ends. I have Kentucky winning there. Buffalo and Maryland, I'll take the Terps. As much as I'd love to pick the upset there, I think, again, Maryland will find a way to shut Buffalo down. Maryland, very well coached team. First year in the Big Ten, doing what they did this year with the play of Trimble and their players there. I like Maryland there. As much as I'd love to pick Texas to beat Notre Dame, I don't see it happening. Again, this region is filled with playmakers, and Notre Dame, again, it starts and ends with Jaron Grant, and even though Texas has some guys I think probably will hang with Notre Dame for a while, I don't see it happening in the end. But here, the whole thing with Kansas, with Alexander, that situation and trouble and that kind of thing, and again, that style of play, I'm going to take Wichita State to knock off Kansas. Kansas always seems to find a way in recent years to go out earlier than expected. And again, this is not a kind matchup for Kansas. This is a very bad matchup for them. You're playing in Omaha, yes, but you're playing a team that's very close to you here. And Wichita State, I believe, has beaten Kansas in the past, and they know how to beat Kansas. So with that in mind, I'm going to take Wichita State. Then Kentucky and Maryland. Again, I think Kentucky, again, just too strong up and down, overall. Maryland, again, the offense rolls around Trimble. I'm sure Kentucky will find a way to slow him, shut him down. So there I'll take Kentucky. Then Notre Dame and Wichita State. Here I'm going to take Notre Dame. Again, as much as, Wichita State would love to get that shot at Kentucky again. I think the way Notre Dame's played of late, very strong team, ride that momentum. I like Notre Dame there to put away the Shockers. And then Kentucky, Notre Dame. This would be a fun, entertaining regional final, but I think Kentucky's going to at least get to the Final Four. I would be shocked if they at least didn't make the Final Four, in my opinion. Even though the region is loaded, there's really not anybody in their way really that matches up well across the board with them until you get to the Final Four. So yes, it is a loaded region, but matchup-wise, team-wise it's loaded, but matchup-wise, there's really nobody that really matches up with Kentucky from top to bottom until you get to the Final Four. Because this is where I have them losing. I have them losing to Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin, again, to me, just feels like this is the year they finally break through. I'm tired of seeing Kentucky win. I hate to say it. I'm tired of seeing them win year after year. I'm tired of seeing them, with Calipari and the job that he does. I'm tired of the dynasty. I want to see something different. I want to see something new. So it's time to really, and there's no better time than March to see something new. And I think with Wisconsin, I think we're going to see that here. So I have Wisconsin beating Kentucky. And then the other side with Northern Iowa taking on Iowa State. Much as I'd love to pick UNI here, I'm going to go with the Cyclones. Again, the way that Hoiberg coaches them, the way that, the way that they play, the style they play. It'll be a great match between Yang and Tuttle, but I think the run ends there for UNI. I'm going to go with the Cyclones. And in the end, again, after seeing the way this Wisconsin team has played this year, they're my pick. I'm going to go with Wisconsin. And I know that might be Big Ten bias a little bit, but come on. I've just been so impressed by the way that Wisconsin has played this year. I really like what I have seen from Bo Ryan and the Badgers. And if I were to make a score prediction, again, Wisconsin usually plays very low-scoring, kind of knock-down, drag-out games. But Iowa State might play at a faster tempo. But I would probably go. Let's go 71. 71-64. Okay. I'm going to sign my name to this. Make it official. All right. So there it is. There's my official gut feeling bracket, all filled out, signed. This is it. This is the one I'm going to mainly focus on during the tournament. There's going to be others I'm going to play on Tournament Challenge, but again, you might think I'm crazy for not picking Kentucky, but everybody's picking Kentucky. That's just it. And I dare to be different, dare to be stupid. I dare to be different. So let me guys know. Thank you all again who supported Tracking the Madness, followed it all year long. I appreciate again all the support. Let me guys know. Let me guys know. How about you guys let me know what your picks are in the comments below. You can share a link to your projections, share your links, share your team that you think is going to win it all, your sleeper pick, who you upsets you have. Please feel free to share any and all. I would read the comments below or on the channel. I will check the Gmail as often as I can. Enjoy the tournament. It's always a great time of year. Thank you guys so much again for following, and enjoy it. Enjoy March and enjoy the madness. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you again next year when we do it all again in 2016 for Tracking the Madness. That's it. It's done. It's over. Stop recording now.